My name is Rich Clark, and I've been a hypnotherapist for the last 9 years, and I've been a holistic therapist for the last 15 years. So to carry on, I've talked about the fear of love, and I've talked about the fear of intimacy, and I talk about the fears and phobias of the top 100 every week. So I'm going to talk about the fear of commitment, and this is called Gamophobia. It sounds a bit of a weird name, but that's what it's called. So Gamophobia is a fear of commitment, though it can be excessive, persistent, uncontrollable, and an irrational fear of marriage. It is derived from the Greek word Gamos, which means marriage, and phobias, meaning fear. So however, many experts agree that there's a subtle difference between the fear of marriage and a fear of commitment phobia. Again, I suppose the thing is the idea of marriage has changed because so many people do not get married, but then the commitment of being in a relationship is quite important. So again, horses for courses on that one. But a person may be afraid of getting married because they still want to remain committed to a single partner for life. Gamophobia is not having cold feet as the thought of marriage, it's the morbid fear at the idea of committing for life to a relationship. Such a fear is described as parallel to the fear of dying. People who suffer from this phobia prefer being bachelors, spinsters for life, or staying in a committed relationship without ever tying the knot. So a lot of people in society, again when I'm working with hypnotherapy as with working with clients, some people, if their social conditioning is that they believe they should get married, it is the legal idea, but it's also a religious ideology as well. I think, to be honest, I think it's a mixed bag. I would say if you're in a committed relationship, the person is committed to you, do they want to be married? Some people have been married before and they don't want to get married because they're the fear of being married, that it won't work. Again, both of these, I think most people before they get married or before they commit to a relationship should have therapy anyway. But anyway, so what is the cause of this fear of commitment? Well, as in any specific phobia, gamophobia is also caused by an intense negative experience in the past, which I just mentioned. It traumatises the suffering individual to an extent to which they learn or they dread commitments. And the fear of commitment is not also just relationships-wise, it's also commitment to when you commit to something, is about when you promise things to people as well. So this is in business, this can be in family, where someone promises you that if you achieve this, you get this, and so forth. That can also cause a lot of issues with people. One creates negative images or movie stills in the mind about marriage, also because people have seen different things, have the experience of seeing people's marriages fail. So 1 in 5 marriages on average fail. So, and I think it's like 1 out of 10 marriages in the first 5 years ends up in divorce. So it is very much a fearful thing of getting married, and it's hugely a problematic issue for many people. Other factors include hereditary, genetics, adrenals insufficiency, having a tendency towards anxiety attacks or being highly strung, and also the cause of the fear of commitment. So the symptoms of gamophobia, this fear of commitment displays, are many psychological and emotional symptoms at the thought of subject of marriage, commitment. So psychologically, symptoms include the feeling of dread or terror at the thought of marriage. So many people get that fear, and you'll speak to people and they say, I couldn't even imagine getting married, or I don't want to be married. Get that with a lot of clients. It's funny how many clients, they fear they've got this issue of dating, but then they want to date and then they go, I don't want to get married, or I don't want children. So you're just thinking, well, you know, there's all these problems, and these are all going to come up in relationships eventually, and they do need to be addressed early on for people not to waste their time. Because the thing is, if you're getting married and you get married to the wrong person, or you're with the wrong person, you're actually stopping that person being able to develop into the relationship they really want. And there's compromise, but there's also selfishness, and I think it needs to be addressed a lot more than it does. And in society, we just think, oh, well, if someone doesn't want to commit, or I think, just dump them. It needs to be done correctly. The person goes to great lengths to avoid a topic of marriage. They may experience uncontrollable anxiety, what makes it difficult for them as a person to function normally. The individual understands that such fear is irrational, but is powerless to control it. This is the psychological issues again. Really bad thoughts, movie stills, or negative images are likely. So it's amazing actually, as you don't see enough positivity in social media or the media worldwide of people getting married. When people get divorced, it's a lot more announced. When people are getting married, or they're happy, or they're having a happy marriage, or a wonderful relationship, it's not advertised so much. And it's like people like to see people negatively, their relationships fail. It's something in human psychology is really strange. Whereas to me, as a hypnotherapist, I like the idea of people wanting to commit to relationships, wanting to get married, having the stable situation so that actually their children grow up so they don't end up in therapy because of the issues they have because they are in an unstable relationship. See, hypnotherapists don't just want to be dealing with people for the rest of their life, they actually want to see people get better. And they want to see a society which actually improves. And I think the actual dissolvement of marriage has caused a lot of issues. That's just my personal issue and through my experience as a hypnotherapist and a holistic therapist. So the physical symptoms of the fear of commitment are the following: trembling, nausea, crying, rapid heart rate, chest pain, dizziness and fainting, and a shortness of breath or sweating. Now, with all these ideas, also I'm going to talk about something on spiritual level, which they also, when I got this information, they don't talk about. Spiritually, the idea of marriage is about commitment. It's also about the idea of two families getting together. And the idea of, like I've mentioned in a video with arranged marriage with my friend Krishna, is that the people said, arranged marriage is not so, not so much adhered to anymore. But the idea of two marriages, two families coming together to create a stronger family unit, and it's also to create many different things. It's to create unity. It's to create the idea of strength in your community. And this is why the idea of these ideas are being lost because the dissolvement of religion. Now, I think religion is a control mechanism, but I think it still needs to be adhered to, that the idea of marriage and religion are separate. Religion is an idea of ideals, laws, and morals and ethics. Marriage actually has a lot more going for it. It creates the idea of stability. It creates the idea of children of a belonging to. That the idea that they see, if children see the loving of parents and they see the compatibility of that, it also helps them to believe that they will find the right things too, and they will find the compatibility to then have a good life, to then have children, and to carry on offspring, carry on family lines, carry on family dynasties. So this idea of people saying, "Oh, marriage is overrated," it's not. It is actually something which actually is solidified in the idea of togetherness. It's about community in the way how we function as humans. We need to be more in a communicative space of how we work together. And the idea of that, people, we should be rewarding people who get married. And this idea that we reward people because they're not married or they're single, again, it's all down to choice, I get that. But I do think that people should want to get married more, not through pressure of family, through the actual reason of actually showing commitment in a relationship. And I think marriage is a good form of that. Some people will say having children is, but then again, as we know, people can have children from different partners. I don't think that's a commitment ideology. I think marriage is. But again, I will listen to people, and I work with a lot of people going through divorce. I work with a lot of people going through marriages and the issues that comes up with. So anyway, how do we overcome this fear of commitment? So, as in many cases, gamophobia can be cured using a variety of effective techniques. The right technique, along with help and support of the family and friends, can go a long way. And I think that's the issue with family and friends. That is where that will help. So if people have marriage issues, support from your family and friends and professionals like myself helps. And so talk therapy is the first line of treatment, and this is recommended for this phobia. The sufferer is encouraged to talk about their fears, the intricacies of their commitments and other aspects of their marriage to a trusted person. This can be a mentor, a parent, a friend, or a professional mental health expert, or a hypnotherapist like myself. In fact, depending on the degree and extent of the phobia, it is best to seek help from an expert psychiatrist, psychotherapist, or a hypnotherapist, because again, if you are worried about the commitment of marriage, you will try and do self-sabotage or whatever it is to stop that happening. And again, if it's in the subconscious, which I believe that hypnotherapists have a better way of working with that than a psychotherapist, hypnotherapists will get to that subconscious issue and reframe it to make someone actually commit to being married. And again, also, it could be also they do fear that there is something wrong with the partner. So sometimes as a hypnotherapist, you do have to go, for someone who wants to get married, you do have to come through that painful era and that differences and find out whether that person is committing. And actually, I used to do tarot reading as well, same thing. Tarot reading was always like, this is the right person to marry, this is the right person to be with, and it was pretty much a lot of your work. So You have to be ready for it. So with hypnotherapy, why is it effective, a highly effective therapy, which I am as a hypnotherapist? It can help trace the roots of the fear of commitment. And it's also to help unlearn negative responses and triggers to this formed about marriage or commitment. So because you've come from, your parents have had a failed marriage, doesn't mean you will have a failed marriage. Just because they've had a good marriage doesn't mean you will have a good marriage. We've got to get out of this thing, and everybody is a different situation. We have to look at everybody as an individual case. And that's why when people say, oh, well, all marriages don't work, or of course he was a cheat, all these things, and a lot of the social media influencers do this, it's not just because, and this is where, example, as a therapist, you should not put your own personal interference onto a client. The idea is you should completely keep absolutely non-judgmental and non-persified or stereotyping or judgmental. Judgmental is such a problem with people because they go, oh, well, I've seen most marriages fail. Yes, that's what statistics say, but we all beat statistics. You know, if we were all told by people that we come from this and we're not going to be anything, then we would believe it. That's self-fulfilling prophecy, and that is where we can change. You can't change free will, but you can change the self-fulfilling prophecy if it's been drummed into you incorrectly, because that is actually a form of coercion. So behaviour therapy and systematic exposure therapy are two also effective methods for overcoming this phobia. So people who are committed in a committed relationship but are suffering from the fear of marriage phobia must find ways to treat it and also confide in their partners about it. And this is about the biggest thing about relationships. I'm going to talk about this in another few weeks. It's about having open communication and being honest at all times. Even if it upsets people, you must be honest. If you're not, you are only going to create another problem. And don't think because the problem's in your relationship before you get married, getting married will sort it out. It won't. Because then if you then have children, then issues will then pass on, and then you are passing on that trauma onto your children. And I think as responsibility of adults, we should be not wanting to do that. We have enough problems in the world without giving children complexes because we don't sort out our fear of commitments or our fear of love or intimacy. The only way we can change this world is by rising the vibration of love, rising the vibration of intimacy, and believing in commitment. It's just what it is. It's what it's been known in every society and ancient since the beginning of time. So phobias that can go out of control if left untreated. Needless to say, there's a great deal of heartache and misery to all those involved. However, there is hope, and the happily ever after is possible in the majority of such cases. And this is the issue, and this is the thing. People's happiness is important. And we have to want to do this as a generation in a society. We want to change this. Why? We want to change these divorce rates. We want to change this non-committal in relationships, and we want to change this way of people believing that that commitment or marriage is a thing to be frowned upon. So anyway, if you do have a fear of commitment or gamophobia, or you're interested in this, or you have issues about in a relationship or getting married or intimacy or love, please contact me on any social media platform this video is on, and please message me or comment on any of these videos which I share, and I'm more than happy to contact you, and we'll start with a free consultation and whether you find a program that suits you. Anyway, until next time, speak to you soon.